Listen, you're not gonna find anything on me, okay? Trust me.
Empty your pockets into the tray, sir, or we'll have to. Your pockets, sir?
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's that time of the week where we talk about all things X-Men, and of course, it's almost going to be, well, it is all going to be Ten of Swords. We've got three big issues, three big ones. We got Wolverine, we've got X-Force, and we got Marauders. And the best thing is that Wolverine and X-Force, essentially one story, same writer, same artist, and they're fantastic. And then Marauders has a new writer on it. Jerry Duggan is gone. Vita Ayala has stepped in. And we'll talk about whether that was a good thing or not. But obviously, with me as always is the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado himself, the Wolverine lover. Doc, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm really looking forward to this week.
Absolutely. I can't wait to talk about this. Before I get to it, let's just say, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this content, give us a thumbs down if you don't. Either way, we want to know your thoughts on Wolverine, X-Force, Marauders. What are your thoughts on Ten of Swords so far? Now, obviously, we talked about Ten of Swords. We're like, how are they going to spread this out to 22 issues? Are they going to use an issue, one issue to find each of the 10 blades? It turns out magic is already there, so they're only going to find 9 blades, Doc.
Yep.
So,
and they used 2 issues, 2 chapters of it to find the blade in Wolverine, with the Muramasa blade. Because
yes, I'm not going to complain about that.
No,
it was absolutely fantastic. Now we're essentially gonna review these as one story because the art doesn't change, the writing doesn't change. It's all about Wolverine. But Wolverine, I believe it's number 5.
I believe it's number 6.
Okay, Wolverine 6, 4.5 star comic. X-Force number 13, 4.5 star comic. These are damn near perfect.
Yeah,
they're awesome, and it all starts with the art right here. Just look how badass this is. You got Wolverine jumping into the Silver Surfer along his way as he's trying to find out where he can find Silver Samurai, as he's on his way trying to find the Muramasa blade, or Muramasa himself, so he can get a blade. And here on the right, he's fighting fucking ninjas. We got him going into hell, and he's dissolved in lava, and he's like regenerating, and it's so badass.
Yeah, these 2 issues, you're right. You need to treat them like they're just one comic because they are absolutely one story. The art, the writing, it's basically like they did a 44-page comic. It was excellent. It was fun. It was engaging. We get to meet Solem for the first time, and you know what? I'm not sure if
We're
I
gonna
buy
get to Solem.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
But no, the art in this was fantastic. The story was great. Instead of them going and trying to somehow piece back together the Muramasa blade that was originally showed up in the Daniel Way Wolverine Origins series and has been broken and smashed and put back together and broken again, and then I think during the all new Wolverine, the one with Laura, they turned the Muramasa blade into bullets or something to try to kill all of the Wolverines. And it was an interesting, rather than playing around with that original blade, they go, have Wolverine basically on like this quest to go and find Muramasa himself to build a new blade for him.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, and the art is dynamic. It's awesome. It's just Viktor Bogdanovic. Where have you been all my life?
Yeah, no. Where has he been all of Wolverine's life?
Absolutely.
Because
he looks so cool.
Yeah, he fits Wolverine like a goddamn glove. As much as I can never keep Andy and Adam Kubert straight. Whichever of the Kuberts has been, on and off Wolverine for so long. I think it's Adam. as good as he is, and I put Bogdanovic right now. He's second only to like Mark Silvestri for solo Wolverine. He doesn't have the catalog of the Kuberts with Wolverine, but every single issue he knocks it out of the goddamn park, and it just looks perfect. It looks exactly what I want in a Wolverine comic. It's badass. It's brutal. He knows how to draw Logan, where he doesn't make Logan look like Hugh Jackman.
Mm-hmm. So that was awesome. It's beautifully illustrated, both issues, Wolverine and X-Force. When we get into the story, there's a cool part at the beginning. I don't want to get too deep into this, but Wolverine is essentially confronting Krakoa. And he's like, listen, this is what you wanted. You didn't want to close the gate because you wanted war. We're supposed to be moving forward, but you're bringing us back. But this is something I think is worth fighting for, and I still don't trust you, but I'm going on my quest to find this sword because I am going to fight for Krakoa.
Yeah.
I dug it.
And I mean, I love that Logan is basically like, look, Tree, I don't trust you. I'm never going to trust you. You're way too damn sketchy, and but I'm still going to do this. But don't take this as a sign of weakness. Like, I actually trust you, because he doesn't, and like that.
Shouldn't.
No, he shouldn't. Wolverine is throughout this, as much as we like to complain about all of the mischaracterizations of characters throughout Dawn of X, Logan has been the most consistent for the most part. I mean, there's moments, but for the most part, he is easily the most consistent and feels most like himself. And this is
meat in the sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah, that or stealing Magneto's hat,
pissing in it.
Yeah, but no, seriously, this feels like Logan. Ben Percy, you're knocking it out of the damn park with Wolverine, and Viktor Bogdanovic. I want you to be on this book for ever.
So let's get into the quest. So he knows he has to find Muramasa himself. He's not going to be able to reforge the Muramasa blade. So he ends up finding out, like he said, he confronts the Silver Samurai. He goes to Japan, and he finds out Muramasa is in hell. And like I said, look at this damn art. He's like coming out of the lava. And he's been like his flesh has been obviously burnt off. It's just his adamantium skeleton as he finds Muramasa. He's got his hammer and he's forging blades because apparently he is being married off. They call him the Beast. It's the hand is marrying the Beast or marrying Muramasa to his daughter or something like that. So he's actually forging two blades at the moment.
Well, he's not marrying Muramasa. Muramasa's there to forge two blades, one to be essentially given to a demon that is the right hand of the Beast.
Yes, and he's going to marry his daughter.
And the other is to a human, so that it's kind of this merger between the Beast and the underworld and the our world. I guess it's to make the Beast's path into our world easier, because they're talking about how like the walls that separate everything have been coming down. And it's been a theme throughout X of Swords so far too, with Otherworld and the gates and Arakko versus Krakoa and blah blah blah. So I like this where it's showing that there's thinning of walls in other places too, between our dimension and other dimensions as well, not just Otherworld.
So obviously Logan does find Muramasa in hell as he's forging these blades, but there's something else that happens in the meantime between the two issues, and it's really cool. I did not know what to think of Solem. When we saw the picture, we found out he has adamantium skin, and it turns out he reminds me of the Viper in Game of Thrones.
You know what?
Charismatic, could give two shits, gonna go, goes by the beat of his own drum. Very condescending. He's always kind of, twerking people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's just kind of that guy that's gonna. he's a smug, condescending asshole that
Yeah.
has every justification for being that smug, condescending asshole. He is kind of almost the mirror of Wolverine.
Yep.
And I like this. I do like it. I don't know if I'm going to buy it as, his new arch nemesis or anything like that. You can't make that happen. That's just got to happen organically. But
Yep. So we got to talk about this.
Interesting.
So war is going down, and she's like, "We need Solem in this. He's one of the sword bearers of Arakko." She goes in there, and apparently Solem is the one who killed her husband. I think his name is Brackus. And she's like, he's been in the pit for 100 years. He hasn't eaten in 100 years. He's going to be emaciated. He's going to be begging to come out. Turns out everybody in Arakko loves him. They've been feeding him. He's got wine. He's got food. He's got books. He's like, I love it down here. I'm having fun. And I told you, when you put me down here, you'd be begging me to come back out. And essentially, that is what she does. She's like, listen, we kind of need you. I don't like you. One day I am going to kill you, and I do hope you die in this contest of champions, but we need you in it. You have to go find the Muramasa blade. And he's like, what the hell is that? And she's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it turns out he could have gotten out anytime. As soon as she says, yeah, you're going to come with us, he immediately frees himself and jumps to safety.
Yep.
He didn't have to be in the pit. He allowed himself to be there.
Yes, and that's the interesting thing. That gives some layers to Solem, that he willfully just accepted his quote unquote punishment, and just hung out there. He didn't have to. He could have left at any time. That makes something interesting about him, that he decided to just go with it, even though he didn't have to. Kind of reminds me of that scene in Hancock where he basically could have just left the prison at any point in time that he wanted and just chose not to.
Yep. So it turns out War had given him a hellblade to kill himself while he was in the pit when he couldn't take it anymore. He takes that with him. He goes to find the Oracle of Arakko. She says, if you want Muramasa, he's in hell. And she's like, you need to use the hellblade. He's like, well, I'm not going to kill myself. She's like, It's a key. And he goes into a wall, goes into hell himself. Obviously, we know Wolverine's there. And the two finally meet. And we find out about his animadium skin. He's like, think of it as like animadium, like
chainmail. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he tries to kill him, does not work.
Yep.
And the two of them see the two blades and like, hey, there's two blades. I guess we won't have to kill each other for the one.
Yep. And as a result, you end up with this interesting kind of degree of respect that they have for one another. They kind of go on this quest together, and then whenever Solem has the opportunity to basically just be like, "F off, dude," he shows honor, and honor's a big thing with Wolverine. So, I like that Solem is kind of honorable, and so same with Wolverine. So they have like a mutual respect for one another, and it sets up their dynamic interesting for what is coming whenever they face off against each other whatever the arena is. Out
that the Muramasa blade can actually pierce his adamantium skin. He says impossible. Wolverine's like, yeah, I'm sorry about that, but it turns out at one point at the end, Solem's got both of the blades, and he's like, you want one of these? It's going to cost you. Now, Wolverine does arrive on Krakoa with the blade, but he says it came with a price. What do you think Wolverine had to sell or give to acquire that blade?
I think that my answer to that might get you demonetized. No, I haven't the slightest clue, and that's the interesting thing. Unless he had to give them information, I'm leaning towards Solem wanting information on Krakoa or the sword bearers of Krakoa.
Maybe promise him a place on Krakoa if they win. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. I get the feeling that he did promise him something, but there wasn't really enough evidence there to give me even the slightest hint.
Nope.
And So I got nothing there.
This was dope. Wolverine and X-Force are absolutely awesome. Like I said, both 4.5 star, 4.5 star comics. Highly recommend. Probably highest recommend. That's what they'll probably be. These are badass. I enjoyed both of them. Now we get to Marauders, which is the story of Storm acquiring her blade. I just got to start out with the art from I think it's Francisco Lolly. I might have that one wrong. I know his last name.
Mateo Lolly.
Mateo Lolly. There we go. And I'm gonna say this is like this image here on the left with Kitty Pryde is horrendous.
Yeah, the Mateo Lolly is a better artist than this issue demonstrated, and this was he either didn't give a shit or he only did very, very minor kind of roughs, and they let the inker or the colorist basically do all the finishes, because this is not up to his normal standards. Honestly, this comic, I'll start off by saying this is a negative 5-star comic.
I give it like 1.5. It doesn't have art. It has a story.
I will give it a quarter of a star. In fact, no, 1/5 of a star. Just like one little arrow, and it's pointing backwards. Yeah, it's the one pointing backwards, saying no, go back. No, this comic, nothing about this comic makes any goddamn sense. This starts off with, Storm deciding, okay, well, I need this sword, and we know it's in Wakanda. So we start off with a lot of, first of all, just this impenetrable thicket of words. Just
so much exposition.
And words.
Like the Bendis is flowing through Vita Ayala.
Not even Bendis is this bad.
Oh, he's worse. You haven't read Action Comics.
No, okay, that's fair. But nothing about this makes sense. First of all, Wakanda has no treaties with Krakoa. They have been mostly dismissive of them, if not borderline obstructionist, and sometimes even hostile, not in a military way, but in a diplomatic, like they just brush off every attempt at Krakoan diplomacy. They want nothing to do with Krakoa.
Well, not according to this story, because when Storm shows up, his mom's hugging her, his sister's like, oh, my sister's back. And then they're like, you need a sword. You could have any sword in Wakanda.
Exactly.
You could have the Nation Maker. You could have the Panther's Claw. You could have the King's Mercy. She's like, I need the Skybreaker. And they're like, what? Not that one.
Yeah. And, nothing about this, every single page of this comic book includes something that breaks recently established continuity, the continuity of X of Swords, if not Dawn of X, and other recent continuity. Like, Storm has essentially been persona non grata in Wakanda since AVX.
Not according to this. According to this, she has been pining for Black Panther. Black Panther has been pining for Storm, and her sister-in-law Shuri has known it the whole time, and she wants them to get back together.
Yeah, that's horseshit. The only time that they've even interacted since then was in that god-awful Black Panther and the Crew story. And no, they want nothing. Yeah. I mean, look, there's so much stuff in this that, okay, all of the stuff about the founding of Wakanda and the Black Panther and the powers and everything that comes with it, that they've been establishing over in Jason Aaron's Avengers with the 1 million BC Avengers. Yeah, this just basically just says, it just ignores it.
So kind of getting beyond that, there's some really bad storytelling here too.
Yes.
Like she needs this sword, and then all of a sudden there's all these flashbacks. It turns out T'Challa has basically told her how to steal the sword years ago. He's like, you see that temple? That's where the sword is. You see these are all the guards where the sword is, and once you finally get to the sword, there's see all
laser grid.
These laser beams. These are protecting the sword. It's like, how convenient.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's super goddamn convenient.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, look, the the first third.
Don't make her think about how to steal the sword on her own. Definitely give her all the pieces before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, let's break this down into the first third of this book is them just basically shitting on continuity, and then Vita just retconning in some easy pass for Aurora to steal this sword, because God forbid she actually has to figure something out along
or
the way.
Mastermind her own heist.
Yeah. And then, I mean, look, I know we don't have it. I don't know if we have any of the shots of, their long conversation that totally foreshadowed everything that was going to happen with them eating like usual.
Yeah, that was in the first set. But when they finally do the heist, it's just
there was you couldn't have telegraphed this, that there was going to be this showdown between Shuri and Storm. You couldn't have telegraphed it anymore. I mean, the fight itself was all right. I mean, it was an okay.
She uses weather to break up her what are those called when blast knuckles. I call them blast knuckles. She blows off her blast knuckles with weather, and then they're fighting in one-on-one combat. Didn't realize Shuri was a sword master, but apparently she is. She disarms Aurora, and then Aurora electrocutes her.
Yeah,
so sorry, sister.
And the thing is, like, the first third of this comic does talk about how, well, we can maybe give you the sky breaker thing, but
you gotta talk to T'Challa.
Gotta talk to T'Challa, and he ain't gonna be back for a couple of days. Gotta talk to T'Challa. He won't be back for a couple of days. And then right after Storm electrocutes Shuri, T'Challa walks in.
Or as I call this scene simping ain't easy.
Yeah.
He's like, he comes in here. So you stormed my kingdom. My mother and my sister offered you hospitality. You spit in their face. You broke into my temple. You defeated my guards. You beat up my sister. You've electrocuted her. She might be dead. We don't know that for certain. You stole my sword. It's all good.
Yeah. And I mean,
I still want to sniff your butthole. So
I thought he wasn't going to be back for a couple of days. And that was the whole point of her breaking in the first place.
Well,
I mean, it literally contradicts itself.
Oh yeah, but you had to tell her, you're so amazing that even though you've defiled my temple and beat up my sister, were rude to my mother. Take it.
Yeah, this whole comic. I mean, Jerry Duggan definitely put together the plot on this thing, but everything else got Vita's name written all over it.
So bad.
It is. This is terrible, and this is nothing but a hey, let's validate Storm some more comic by having other people do it.
I don't know. It's like this is probably just as bad as X-Force. I don't want to say X Factor. I don't want to say X Factor was worse. I think they're equally bad.
Yeah. They're both pretty bad. Yeah, this comic was atrocious at every conceivable level,
but Storm has Skybreaker now, and she's entered the circle. Hopefully, we don't have to hear from VIL again within 10 swords.
I have a feeling we will. But
terrible.
Everyone involved in the creation of this comic should feel bad about themselves.
Well, especially when it's released the same week as Wolverine and X-Force, and Wolverine,
blow it out of
I need to find the sword. Let me go figure out how to go get the sword. Let me go to hell and back to get it. Maybe compromise my own soul. And Storm, it's just, here, let me talk for hours on end, have all the information given to me, and never have to think about it in my life. Let me slap the people who just welcomed me into their home and still make T'Challa bend the knee on me.
Yep. This is quintessential Vita Ayala writing.
Well, it's embarrassing, and Legion of Doofuses, their fingerprints are all over this as well. Thank God for Ben Percy.
Yes. Yeah.
Viktor Bogdanovic.
Yeah, because if this was the only book out this week, I would have thrown it into a river.
Yeah. Embarrassing stuff, but absolutely go read Wolverine and X-Force. Don't read Marauders if you don't have to. Just know that Storm has a sword and she'll be entering combat.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm getting to the point where I'm we're at the point where we can realize that I think up until Stasis, you don't have to read any of these books.
They'll have the swords by then.
Yep. I think that's when
next week is going to be Hellions. It's going to be, it's not Excalibur. It's going to be New Mutants and one of the other comics I don't read.
I think
it's three comics.
I think another issue of X Factor.
Is it? I don't
remember. It doesn't.
I don't remember either. We'll be talking about it right here on the channel, obviously.
Absolutely, but yeah, 2 4.5 star comics and a 1/5 star comic.
1.5 star from me, Doc.